going to have an experienced speaker come up here, Renato A.
Very good.
And he will be coming up and he will be doing the manual speech, and it's in the persuasive speaking manual, and it's called Conquering the Cold Call. This one's really tough. He's going to have 3 to 4 minutes on his speech, and then he'll have 5 to 7 minutes in role playing, and then he'll conclude with a 2 to 3 minute discussion. So if I could please have Renato come up and put your hands together for him.
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, tonight's a little bit of a new challenge for me in that I'm not going to be able to speak to all of you or maintain eye contact with all of you. This is a role play. So imagine you have a salesperson trying to sell your product or service. Right? Are they looking around while they're talking to you? No, they're not. Right? So I have to maintain eye contact with my prospect. Now I'm making this a big deal because I did one role play in my other club and I got love notes saying, well, your eye contact was lousy. No fooling, I'm trying to sell something to someone. So the goal of this speech is to sell an expensive product or service to an individual on a cold call. So now here's the scenario. I've decided to do it related to real estate. So I'm driving along the road and on someone's lawn I see a for sale by owner on the front of the lawn. So I decide to stop and ring the doorbell or knock on the door and introduce myself to the for sale by owner, or the owner of the home. My ultimate goal is to get him to list the property with me. So that's the scenario. So it's gonna, again, it's gonna be very difficult for me to maintain eye contact with all of you today. I know. So does everyone understand what the scenario is?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a one-on-one role play. My ultimate goal is to sell a product or service. In this case, my service is to sell the homeowner's home. And I've asked Chris to role play with me. Now, Chris, you can confirm this. I've asked him to just do the role play. I did not coach him on any answers, and I actually told him, don't just say yes to me. You confirm that?
That is accurate, Admiral.
Okay, so come on up, Chris. Thank you. Do I shake his hand? Okay. So, knock, knock.
Oh, man, that guy again. Hello.
Hi, Mr. For Sale by Owner. My name is Renato. I was driving by and I noticed your For Sale by Owner sign in front, and I just thought I'd stop by and introduce myself.
Now's really not a good time.
Well, I only need a minute of your time. I first wanted to ask you how things going as far as you selling your home on your own.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. You got a lot of people coming by.
It's a hot market.
Yeah, that's true. It's a seller's market. But I'd like to also tell you what I do for clients when I'm working with my clients. When I work with clients, I help them enhance their property by going through, taking the time and looking at the property and making some simple suggestions to enhance the property. Wouldn't you agree you only have one shot at making a great first impression?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so that's really important. So enhancing the property, packaging it for profit is super important. The next key responsibility I have to my clients is an effective pricing strategy. How did you decide what to list your property at?
Well, I obtained my realtor license last month and decided to sell my home, and I did a full market analysis.
Very good. What sources did you use for your market analysis?
Well, I went to the MLS, did some Zillow, talked
Oh, so you're a licensed realtor?
Yes, yeah. I just haven't hung my shingle out with the brokerage yet, so I'm kind of one step behind, but I figured I would make all the money that I could rather give to you, I would just make that property.
I certainly understand that, Mr. For Sale by Owner, but here's what makes me different from my competition is in terms of pricing strategy. You know, a lot of agents will just say, where do you want to price it? We'll price it up here. And as you know, that's going to do what? It's going to scare people off, right? You're not going to get a lot of traffic. That's why I asked you, how's it going? Did you get a lot of people to stop by your home? We believe, Berkshire Hathaway as well as myself, believe that a little less is more. So if your house is here, I want to price it just slightly below. Now you might say, why? Why would you do that? Well, you're crazy. I'm going to lose money. No. because it's going to generate a lot of interest, a lot of excitement, and a lot of traffic. And a lot of traffic means what?
It means more opportunity for
More
multiple
offers.
offers.
Exactly. So what happens in a multiple offer situation? You're a realtor.
I'll get more than the asking price.
Right, they're going to bid the price up, so you actually get more than what you originally listed it. So that's my strategy, and Berkshire Hathaway believes that as well. The next thing, and I don't know if you've thought about this, is I'm pretty much a project manager for my clients. I handle the project from soup to nuts. Doing the offer, negotiating, project management. I've got to make sure that I get the inspection done on time. Got to negotiate. If things don't go so well with the inspection, well, I may have to negotiate to lower the price down because there was an issue with the roof or the pool or the foundation or whatever the case may be. So I wear multiple hats. I'm the salesperson, I'm the project manager, I'm the negotiator. The next thing is a company that I keep. Berkshire Hathaway is a great company, but we've got the resources and expertise to effectively market your product. And in this case, your product is your home. Now, we have the capabilities of marketing it nationally, globally, as well as an aggressive local marketing campaign, which includes open houses, we do mailings, we do the whole 9 yards. Again, in an attempt to increase traffic, which will increase offers, which gives us that multiple offer situation. The next thing is I like to be a trusted advisor to all my clients. I want them to feel free to ask me questions, address any concerns, and I help them, guide them through the process so that they make the best possible decisions based on their goals and objectives. So that's what I do for my clients. All that results in a transaction that's on time, with the fewest amount of problems, and the most amount of money that the market will bear. So, question to you is, if I could bring a seller to your home, would you be willing to pay my fee?
I'd be willing to consider that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. All right, he made it tough. I wasn't expecting him to be a realtor. Thanks, Chris. Just remember payback. I'll leave out the rest of it. So, I don't know if you noticed, I did not immediately go into sales mode, right? One, I was real friendly. I just wanted to introduce myself to the prospect. But you also notice I spoke in third person, right? I said, when I work with my clients, I didn't say, well, if you give me the sale, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. No, I told them what I do for my clients. I think it's a lot less intimidating than if I said, well, this is what I could do for you. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
So I told them, well, when I work with clients, I do this, I have these 6 steps that I follow, and that's what I hit them with. And then I close with, all this results in a transaction that's worry-free, fewest amount of problems, right, the most amount of money the market will bear, and then I went into the close, right? I asked them, so if I could bring a buyer to your doorstep, would you be willing to pay my fee? So I think it's a lot less aggressive than coming around and saying, well, if you give me the listing, this is what I'll do for you. I'll do this, that, and the other thing. So that's my approach. I don't really consider myself to be a salesperson per se. Instead, I like to find out what the client wants in terms of working with buyers. If it's a seller, I have to convince them that I'm the man for the job, but I don't want to come across as being too aggressive. Instead, I just tell them what I like to do when I'm working with other clients. So I don't know how I'm doing on time here. This was really tough to time it on a role play, and I don't see the green light yet. So I don't know what else to say. So thank you, Sue.
I have a question. If you had walked up to Chris's door
Right.
and talked to him a little bit,
Uh-huh.
but before he opened the door, you noticed that his yard looked maybe just not quite as spiffy as it should. It didn't have that curb uphill.
Right.
Would you have mentioned that to him and as a
Probably.
way?
Yeah, well, I did go there a little bit, but again, I had to go from making believe here. I had no house to work with, but yeah, I probably would have suggested that. Maybe painting the front door. If the door, I've seen doors, I've done some door knocking already. I've seen doors that were faded from the sun or just plain dirty, and of course you can't alienate the customer. But making those little suggestions, maybe putting down a little mulch in the front just to give the house a little bit more curb appeal, decluttering a room, or painting a room, and doing things like that. So I take the time to walk through and make those suggestions. I also go to the inspections and when the house gets appraised too. Not all realtors do that, but I want to be there because I want to show my client that I have their back with respect to making sure everything goes smoothly, and I don't want them to worry.
Would you make those suggestions if they're not your client? For instance, when you went right up to person
Chris.
by the owner, Chris guy, and you're still trying to gain his business.
Right.
He's not your client yet, but would you make those recommendations right off the bat after talking to him for a little bit?
I might, yeah, if I notice that. I mean, I like to think I'm pretty observant, so I might suggest this, I noticed your front door looks a little faded, would increase the curb appeal if you painted the front door, maybe change the color, or just a fresh coat of paint. And I'm a big believer in that. I've done a lot of painting over the years. My ex-wife and I used to rent an apartment in New York, so boy, I really am a big believer. I've literally transformed rooms just with a fresh coat of paint on the wall. So I'm a big believer in that. But I'm also cognizant of the homeowner. They don't want to spend a lot of money fixing up the house. Why?
They're leaving it.
They're leaving it, right? The more money they spend to fix it up, the less profit they make from the home, right? So I'm trying to do things or make suggestions that don't cost a lot of money, like the mulch. You get a $3 bag of mulch at Home Depot or Lowe's and spread it out there and increase the curb appeal. A $20-something gallon of paint, and painting that faded front door to make it look a lot nicer. Sometimes it's just decluttering a room. I had one person, it was funny, it was my first sale. I sold this new construction to this woman, and her boyfriend was there, and he said, "Oh, I want you to list my house." So I come to the house, and he's got all these like Indian heads on the wall. The whole wall is covered from it. So you have to be tactful, though. I said, "Yeah, if we put this up, would that go?" He says, "Yeah." I told him that would have to go. You love him, but that would probably be best if we took them down. So, and he took it with, I guess, a grain of salt. But sometimes it's kind of difficult to deliver that message. I know the pictures of your son and daughter graduating nursery school was great, and you can see the paint is faded around those frames, but that stuff's got to come down. You have to think of it as a product. It's no longer your house. Once you put it up for sale, it's no longer a home. It's a product, just like any other product. Shaving cream, a car, whatever it is. So you have to make it marketable. Right, so that means decluttering, clean it up, and people have to envision themselves living in it. If you have pictures of Jimmy and John and the dog and all that stuff, and personal things all over the walls and everything, they can't really envision themselves living in it because it's your house. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, one of the questions I had was, I didn't really hear you address this, but what was Chris's first objection to what you were calling?
I don't believe he really had an objection. He was just saying that he was doing it himself. And that's the big thing. A lot of people that are selling houses on their own believe they can do it themselves, but a lot of them don't take into consideration the paperwork. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork, but there's negotiating. How do you know what the price is? Now, he said he was a realtor. But if you're for sale by owner, you don't have access to the MLS, which means you're not going to be able to effectively do what we call CMA, or competitive market analysis. So then how do you come up with the right price for your home? And the problem is a lot of people, oh, my house is worth $500,000, but the other houses in your neighborhood are selling for $250,000.
Well, I guess my question is, I'm not going to make you run over time, but his first objection was, I don't have time right now. And I could be hypersensitive to that, having worn your shoes, but I never really heard you respect the customer saying, I don't have time right now.
Well, I said it would just take a minute for me to just talk. So that was my way of getting over that objection, because my ultimate goal was I didn't have he could have said come back next week,
Right.
but if I said okay, thanks, then my speech tonight would have been. Joe.
You did very well. My only suggestion is you never closed. What you did was you said, if I could bring you a buyer, would you consider paying my fee? And he said yes, and that was pretty much it. The purpose for every meeting in a sales process is to set up the next meeting, and you didn't do that. If you did, I didn't hear you. So the close would have been, when is a more convenient time for us to sit down and discuss this in more detail? And when he agrees to that, then you've closed to get the next meeting. Does that make sense?
No, it does. You're absolutely right. And if it was a real life situation, I probably would have asked to come in so we could fill out the listing agreement, but I totally forgot about that. You're absolutely right. That's what I should have done. And that's the one thing that I did not do in my presentation tonight. Thank you.